It's showing now.
It's still on raw water update. There we go.
Sorry about that.
Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, sorry about that. Okay. So the Collins Street project, hopefully it'll be in service next week. This is going to put, like I said, it's affecting about 40 customers with new meter services. The telemetry project, this is to put telemetry in for 292 pump station. Currently, we have to operate that locally, and we have no controls at the water plant. This is going to allow the plant operators to see the tank levels and be able to control it manually from the plant. Change with me that time. New slide.
It did.
Change that. Okay. So some upcoming funded projects. These have already been funded. We're just trying to get them off the ground and moving. Water meter replacement. So we had $2 million that were funded to replace all the meters in the county. This is also going to include pressure zone meters. Turkey tank rehab. So $681,000 was funded to rehab that tank. It will include painting and some additional security for the site. Those two projects, right now, the engineer has them. They're finishing the designs, and hopefully all we'll have to do is wait for the funding agency to release the money so Big Sandy can walk us through that project. Otto Brown pump station and line replacement. There's $2 million funded for that project. It's going to replace approximately 20,000 feet of main line, and it's going to affect roughly 200 customers. Right now, there's a pump station that's going to be replaced too. It has no redundancy in it. And that pump station is underground. So this project is going to move that above ground and give us redundancy in that pump station. That project has also been designed, I think has been complete. It should be being sent to the Division of Water within the next couple of weeks for approval. And we have some water line relocation projects that are also been designed. These projects were funded by the State Highway Department. It's basically relocating them out of the way so they can do some upgrades to the roads. Several of these projects for us, though, it's a good thing because they're suspected that they're in high water loss areas. So getting them moved is going to help us out tremendously. And here's some projects that the districts have applied for. I really think these are our top 5 right now. We just submitted applications for the Kentucky Water for all of these. So it's the downtown Inez water replacement. This will be for phase 1 of that project. It's going to affect about 200 customers, and it's going to replace all the AC water mains that are downtown. Cold water replacement project. This will actually be for phase 2. Cold water phase 1 has been the project has $5 million were approved for that project. So this will be for the remaining 3.5 million. It's going to replace about 40,000 feet in total and affect about 240 customers. Old Route 3 water replacement. It's about 2,400,000 feet of water main. It's going to affect about 200 customers. Spicy Mountain Water Extension. This is for an area out in the county that right now the customers have no access to water. So this would also include a small tank set up there and give us a regional connection to the Paintsville system. So they would be able to feed that side of the county should we have any issues. And the last one there is the raw water system improvements. Clarifiers 1 and 3 have been rehabbed. So this will address the remaining clarifier and also address some work at the reservoir, including some valving work that's desperately needed. So an operations update, the water plant so far year to date has produced 328 million gallons. We did put clarifier 1 back in service. We've been able to maintain the tanks at full capacity. The reservoir is currently above the 3rd screen and full. We made a repair to the valve sludge line on clarifier number 2, and we're fully staffed. And I put that on there because it's a big deal because, we've had a lot of turnover here. and being able to stay fully staffed. It's being able to train our staff and have a better operations. We've installed some new pumps at multiple pump stations just to give us some redundancy issues. Otter Brown, DeVella, and Big Elk. We've organized the plant and the distribution yard, and we've established a working inventory program, and that way we can keep track of the parts on hand and make sure we have enough inventory to repair any leaks. We had a sanitary survey that was conducted earlier this year, and we've addressed all the non-sufficient deficiencies. Lead service line is currently about 90% complete. We're doing some field verification on some of the unknowns. We're going to meet the deadline without any issues. Put a little table here. This shows the amount of certified operators that we have here. And it just shows some of the training and stuff that we've put into the operators, some of the employees here. So our water loss program, we got a dedicated crew working daily to identify leaks. We've purchased some new equipment earlier this year. We've installed some check valves to help at the booster stations, and we've dug a bunch of pits and put flow meters throughout the system. As you can see, from January 23 to July 24, the last number that I didn't have, unfortunately, was able to get August's numbers complete before this, but July of 24 was the lowest number we've had in the last 2-year period. And you've seen the leaks repaired in the last 2 months. We've really started putting a big hit on the leaks that we've had out there. We repaired 190 water leaks this year through the end of August, which is really playing hectic to our pressure zones out there. So we're having to make daily adjustments to our PRVs to ensure that we're not busting anything. Got crews dedicated to make the repair, and we've installed 12 water valves throughout some of our trouble zones to help isolate and improve the leak detection program. There's just a little table of the last water loss update that we submitted to the PSC, the calculations, and it's a little short video. After we found this number got down to 6183, we found this leak in the system is over by one of our school systems. It's been leaking for several years that hadn't been able to been located. And you can see that this is pouring full pipe. After reading some of our master zones, we're projecting that leak is going to save us about 2 million gallons a month and knock about 10% of the water loss off. So that's what I've got for the presentation. Take any questions. Did I lose them?
No. We're all still astounded about gaining 10% water loss over 1
I
week.
know. So
We're all just stunned.
Todd, how'd you find that leak?
Well, one of the guys that work in the distribution system said that it's been something that they've worked on for several, they've visited several times. So we just decided one day to haul up there, and we started digging, and we started tracing, and luckily we dug on a hole and water came up.
Okay.
When we started on our master zone, that zone was showing we had like 65 gallons a minute going through that. By the time we put the check valves in and fixed that leak, we're under 10 gallons a minute through that zone now. So
Wow.
we also had one like that on Collins Creek during this rehab project, that when the contractor was up there, they found a 3/4 inch service line that was running full force, but we've not seen the numbers on that yet to see how much it's going to help improve.
Very good. Very good. All right. Any other questions for Todd on the presentation? Okay. All right.
got a
A question
hand
from
raised.
Gilbert McClanahan. Gilbert, would you like to ask a question at this time? Okay, we're not able to hear you if you're asking a question. I think your mute button might be on. Okay, well, we'll come back. We aren't able to hear you at this time, so if you want to type a question into chat, then maybe we can address it that way. I quickly wanted to jump over to PSC. Linda, do you have any questions, updates, or anything relevant to the group?
I don't think so at this time. Like I said, I think the commissioners are traveling today, and so the chairman was not able to jump on today. But you know, one of the things I know that Craig was talking about last year was that I guess June 2023 was like a record low production month or purchase month. And so I noticed that the percentage, even though we've got the percentage going down, that the purchase numbers are going up. So are you seeing, Todd, are you seeing an increase in purchase in the sales, the water sales going out?
Yeah, that the last month when we had the low, we did have higher sales, and I think a lot of that can be contributed to. We've been replacing a lot of the meters with this new system.
Okay, that's good. So no, at this point, thanks, Sarah. We don't have anything else to necessarily report out from the commission standpoint. So,
Okay, good deal. Commissioner Sloan, I see that you are on, and I wondered if you had anything from AML at this time.
Thanks for asking, Sarah. I really appreciate it, but let me ask that to Jim Cable.
Okay.
I'm glad to see that Bell Engineering got the plans for the 2018 Amler project. I believe you call that the Otto Brown Pump Station. Is that right, Todd? $2 million.
Correct.
Really glad that's been on the books for a long time. Really glad to see that moving along. So, do you have an idea of a timeline on that project? You said you were going to send it to water soon. Is that right?
Yeah. Lee, do you have any idea? Lee's on here from Bell
Okay.
Engineering. I don't know if he has a timeline on when they're going to submit that, but the last time I talked to Steve, he told me within the next couple of weeks it would be submitted for approval.
I believe that's correct. And I apologize. Steve's on vacation this week. The Otto Brown project, I know Steve sent the plans on the line portion of the job to Hannah at AML last week, so they can start their NEPA study. And then all the line work, all that has been designed. It's complete. And then we got some work yet to do on the pump station. We'll have it ready to submit.
Thanks, Lee. That's all that I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Just in follow-up to the slide about the raw water project, Todd, seems like we might be running pretty far over schedule on the raw water project. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the delays and what the challenges have been there and why we're way over schedule?
Well, I know we're over 100 days late on that project, somewhere around that timeline right now. The latest delay has been the connection from the pump to the floating screen. When the contractor started to do that a couple weeks ago, they lowered this trailer over the hill and got down in there, and the angle to connect that pump, there wasn't nothing about it that looked correct. So they had some questions on it. They had sent it back to the engineer a couple times, and the engineer has wrote them something back saying this used how to do the connection. Those parts have been ordered, and they should be here anytime. The delay before that was something to do with the pillars, the support pillars that was going to hold that trailer as it went over the hill. Once they started lowering it over the hill, there was some questions about whether that pillar was going to hold. And that's something else that they sent back to the engineer. The engineer verified by going back and seeing, how far they drilled down in for the support system. Um, and there were some issues before that on the trailer mount, getting the trailer here that was I guess it had to be designed and built. And that was a big holdup when I first got here, was waiting on the trailer. So those have been the 3 holdups since I've been here. I can only speculate on the rest of them but I think it's just been a project that needs to be pushed through bad for the district. I think we're at the end of it now. We just got to get this last little bit connected, and hopefully there's no more delays.
Okay, so who's on for Bell Engineering? Is that Lee?
Yes, Lee Lowe, Bell Engineering.
What's your last name, Lee?
Lowe, Lowe.
Okay, thank you. So, Lee, can you speak to that a little bit? It sounds like it's been in your guys' hands while we've had these delays.
Yeah, we had the problems that Todd just mentioned. There were a lot of delays getting that trailer constructed. Had to be fabricated. Then there was a delay on the casters on the trailer. There was a huge delay on getting those. It's just been one thing after the other. And then at the plant, there was some small delays on the getting the bearings replaced, so the contractor could get in and do the tube settlers and treatment unit 3. Like I said, we've worked through multiple material delivery delays, and like Todd said, we're really close now, and I think we finally see the light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Okay, and do we have an estimate on how much extra we're paying in, well, I say we, because we're all one team, that you guys are paying for pump rental and diesel and that kind of stuff for the delays in the raw water intake? Do we have an estimate on that?
Yeah, the trailer rental is about $9,000 a month, just to rent the pump. And then if we're running the pump 24/7, which we have to during this time, it's costing us about somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 a month for diesel fuel. And then on top of that, all the labor and overtime costs, because it has to be manned and filled up twice daily. It's probably another couple $1,000 a day in cost for the overtime and fuel, oil and stuff that has to be used to maintain it.
Okay, that's super significant. So we're talking about 40,000 or more a month that
Easy.
is
Easy.
going out in expenditures due to this project not being completed. Okay, and who has oversight on that contract, Todd?
Big Sandy Ad District is the owner of the contract.
Okay. And we have somebody from the add-on. Is that Joe?
Yes, that's me.
Okay. And are those contract issues being addressed, Joe, then through the ad?
We are. We had our attorney look at those contracts just last week. He's reviewing those and making some contacts. And I have not had an update from him since Friday. But as of last week, he was making some contacts with those folks and reviewing those issues to see how we could get that resolved quickly.
Yeah, is the responsibility of those costs, is that a contractual issue, or is that automatically absorbed by the district? I'm sorry for my level of understanding on this. I'm learning from you.
That has fallen on the district just because they have had to continue operations during this time. Ultimately the contract said that that the contractor would deliver this product and install it. And those delays have just prevented that outcome from occurring at this point. So in the meantime, just to keep water in that reservoir, the district has had to absorb that cost.
All right. So one more question for me, Todd, and that is just about the reservoir levels. I know you said it was above the third screen and that the reservoir is looking good. I can tell you from the Division of Water standpoint, we're getting ready to enter a period of drought. We're getting ready to talk about that some more statewide. have you seen your water levels impacted at all in either the river or the reservoir from lack of rain?
The river looks like it's a little down from the time I started here. I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of rain, but we've not seen any issues with getting water pumped to the reservoir or keeping the pump primed or for anything like that. We've been able to maintain it full outside of a few days when the diesel pump was down, but we got it repaired, but we're back being full now.
Okay. So from a division standpoint, we'll just want to keep a real close eye on the reservoir and on the river. And if you start seeing any changes, be sure to report that to Robert back and let him know so that he can make the reports around so that we're sure that we're keeping a real close eye on that. And I know your raw water intake project will help a lot too. If once you get everything up and going, then you'll have more control over that situation as well. So something else to think about. I'll stop short of saying something else to pile on your shoulders. But definitely that's something we need to keep an eye on right now. I saw that Donna and Lyndall and Jason are online, and I wondered if UK had any updates or questions or comments.
This is
have any
Lyndall.
comments.
Go ahead. Do you have anything, Jason?
Yeah, I don't have any comments at this time. Thanks.
I'll just make a few comments. We did have our opportunity to go down and meet with Todd and Colby, and we're still working on some of our computer models, trying to get those fine-tuned so we can make accurate predictions and continue to do that. And we hope to make another visit down there probably in October. So.
And this is on the hydraulic model?
Yes, yes, Sarah.
Okay. And what is the timeline on that? I feel like we've been working on that for a while, so I wondered when that'll be ready.
We hope to have it done this calendar year before December. One of the challenges we run into, and I'm sure Todd and Colby can appreciate this, is the data can be a little sparse, and as we go through and look at the data of like where pipes are and things, we keep finding anomalies or discrepancies that we have to go back and fix. And so it's just taken time to kind of work through that. And relative to the water quality part of the modeling, that's a little more complicated. And to make sure that the model is operating properly, we have to make sure that we're modeling the water quality in the tanks, which is a little more complicated. So there's a lot of tanks in the system, as everybody's aware of. One of the things we've also been working with Craig and now with Todd is trying to make sure that we know how the demands are distributed through the system. In the past, there's been a lot of noise in the data, and so with the master meters that they've now had in for several months, we've been able to go back and start isolating zones and actually quantifying how much water is actually being used in each of those different zones to properly distribute the demands in the model. Of course, that's also complicated by the water loss, and so when you have a major leak that you find incorrect, that adjusts some of the parameters. So it's it just gets complicated. I think most people don't appreciate the fact, because Martin County is considered somewhat of a small county. They don't appreciate the complexity of that system. It's because of the topology and everything. It's a very, very complicated system, and that's some of the challenge of maintaining its operations. And so when you're modeling it, it gets a little more complicated than that. But that's a fair question, Sarah. But we've continued to work on that. We're also currently working on also trying to have a model of the supply side of things that we can kind of anticipate the trade-off between flows in the river and flows coming out of Crum Reservoir. As you have already mentioned, one of the concerns is if we start getting into drought periods, how can we properly manage the trade-off between the river flows and the flow from the reservoir. So we have another little project we're working on to try to develop a little operational support model that might help Colby and Todd make some kind of forecasting decisions, anticipating what will we do if the river gets down this low and things of that nature. And Jason really didn't mention this, but they've also been collecting a lot of water quality data also on the source side, and we've been kind of identifying some of the water quality is different in the river versus the lake relative to the possibility of formation of disinfectant byproducts. And so we're also looking at factoring in the water quality and the trade-off of which source we use as well. I don't know if Jason wants to briefly comment on that or not, but so that's another model we're working on.
Yeah, so, over several years of kind of looking at the chemistry of the source water and then DBPs at the tap level, we've sort of identified these drought periods as being times where we see a lot of DBP formation potential, because actually the Tug Fork is a fairly high bromide system. So when we enter these periods of drought, the bromide levels get pretty high within the Tug Fork.
So they are specifically brominated species of DBPs. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
But,
and
yeah, so what we're seeing is the ones that are just chlorinated, they track with the water temperature, whereas the brominated ones track with these bromide levels. And so where we've had drought periods in the past, the levels have gotten pretty high.
And have you thought about the source of the bromide?
Yeah, actually, we sampled the entire length of the Tug Fork. And so, it just, as you move downstream in the Tug Fork, the bromide levels increase, and partly probably just due to the natural geology. So the shales that are, largely the parent materials in the region likely have fairly high levels of bromide in them that are weather out. But one thing that we have seen in the past is that when the pump was completely down, and we just have runoff from that local watershed around the reservoir, the bromide levels are much lower. So there's probably some, contribution of land use to accelerating that weathering, but it's just, these are high bromide systems compared to other parts of the country.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that information. Anything else there, Lyndall, or is that, did you cover it?
No, I think that's the comments we have for today.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And Joe Jacobs, do you have anything else you'd like to add from the ad district side?
No, I think Todd covered all of the funding mechanisms that we're actively pursuing in his update earlier.
Okay. And about the projects that are awaiting funding, Todd, I wondered about what pots of funding you're applying for those projects. Do you have anything specifically identified for those projects at this time?
All those ones that were put up on the board a while ago, I know that the ad district just recently put in applications for the Kentucky Waters. And I think Joe can probably speak on it more. I think on some of those projects, they've actually applied on other locations, and I don't know if they've heard back on them or not.
Okay.
Those rest of those would have been done. I'm not sure, Joe, when they were done, but some of those were applied before my tenure here. But I know those were included in this last round of applications we just submitted.
Yes, we submitted Kentucky Water's application for the Inez water line replacement. There is also a ARC pre-application waiting on that one as well. We also submitted water system controls and raw water modifications phase 3. That will take care of that clarifier number 2 that we were talking about earlier. I also submitted an application for the Inez wastewater system improvement project and the Warfield wastewater treatment plant upgrade. And I believe Eric also submitted one for cold water on the water side, and there is another one that is escaping me right now. The Route 40 East. And Route 40 East had some additional funding in it, I believe, from an AML water line replacement application.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that update. Okay. Well, does anybody else have any updates? Any other agencies, anybody I've missed? You have to bear with me. I'm new at this one. Okay. So at this time, I'd like to give Mary Cromer some time. She sent an email requesting public comment time at the end of the meeting. Oh, and she's back. Mary, are you on?
I am. I pushed the wrong button. Hi. Did you just say you were this is the time you're opening the floor?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Yeah, I would like to speak. Unfortunately, Nina is not able to join us today, so she had provided me with some notes of things that she had been wanting to make sure that everyone was aware of. And it goes, Sarah, it goes to your questions about the raw water intake, and she wanted to share sort of the Martin County Concerned Citizens perspective on how the raw water intake process has gone. And so the money for the raw water intake came in the 2018 AMLR grant, and the project basically consisted of buying 2 pumps, upgrading the electric system at the raw water intake, and then installing a ramp that would allow those pumps to be pulled away from the river when it floods. But there have been so many hiccups along the way, as you noted. It's taken a long time and it's really overscheduled. First of all, both pumps were damaged. The large pump that was damaged was dropped by Xylem when it was delivered. Xylem claims that it was also damaged by the district from improper usage. Regardless, that large pump is still not able to be used by the district. There's a disagreement between the district and Xylem about who damaged the pump, and the district still doesn't have that pump, and Xylem is refusing to release it unless the district pays for the repair, which is, I think, over $30,000. So this project, I mean, all of this started in 2018, but it wasn't until the summer of 2020 until the district was able to actually start using one of the pumps at the raw water intake, and they started using the small pump. They started using it even though the electricity hadn't been upgraded, and that ramp and pulley system that would allow the small pump to be pulled away from rising river water, that hadn't been built yet. So they started using it, but then in the winter of 2021, the small pump was flooded and it damaged the pump. And then because of that, the district wasn't able to pump the water from the river from February into July of 2021, and the reservoir got dangerously low, as you all have sort of alluded to. Finally, the district paid $15,500 out of operation and maintenance costs to repair that small pump. But the raw water intake system was still not ready. The electrical upgrades hadn't been done, the ramp wasn't built, and so the pump wasn't being used. So June 2023 comes around, the reservoir is again really, really low, and the district starts renting that diesel pump to pump water from the river to the reservoir. And so the district has relied on that diesel pump, we believe, from June 2023 until now, basically. And as you heard from Todd, that diesel pump is $9,000 a month, plus a lot more than that in diesel fuel cost. So the cost to the district has been way in excess of $200,000 in operation and maintenance expenses. This is a huge increase in the district's yearly operating expenses. This is a district that budgets $2.6 million per year in operations costs or in expenses. So when Todd presented to the board last month, he said something which really kind of alarmed us or alarmed the citizens group. He said that we've made mention in the PSD report that we anticipate no rate increases for the year. If we do not get the project at the raw water intake completed, there is no way that the district will be able to continue paying for the pump and the diesel fuel. The district has made contact with the engineering company about charging the contractor for the penalty fees for being late and liquidated damages. As of August 27th, they were 67 days overdue, which is around $50,000 in liquidated damages. We don't know what's going to happen if Big Sandy Ad is able to make a claim for liquidated damages, but we would certainly hope that the district would be able to be compensated for some of the money that they have been out due to the time that it's taken to get this done. But what we want to stress more than anything are two things. The first is it's the cost of the pump and the diesel to run it are costs that have been incurred because of problems that have occurred during the building of an infrastructure project that was paid for by a grant, but there's no grant to pay for these costs. These are operation and maintenance expenses. They're falling on the ratepayer. And then second, we've asked before that rate affordability be a topic that this work group considers and covers, and we've been told that that's not appropriate here because this is a technical work group. We understand that, but we also believe that the two issues are very interconnected and should be considered together. And we think that what's happened with the raw water intake is a good example of how these technical issues really affect the affordability of water in the county.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. I think, I think that for the most part, we're thinking the same way in terms of how are these extra costs going to be covered? How long can we incur them? So, that's the reason I was asking those questions. So I definitely appreciate that. And I think that sounds like Joe is already looking at the contract and trying to determine what the appropriate next steps are for the overages and the projects and the damages and that kind of thing. So, Joe, would you like to respond to any part of that, being the contract holder?
Yes, just to reiterate what we talked about a little bit earlier, we have advised our attorney to go ahead and start pursuing that claim as much as we can. And then also, I just want to make clear, because we are talking about two separate issues, the district's attorney was handling the problem with Xylem because of the initial disagreement about who damaged the pump, and those things are being handled by the district's attorney. And as the contract holder, the only thing that we are able to address through our attorney is the overages on the contract time.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. All right. And Mr. McClanahan did put his comment into chat, which was a question about progress made getting drinkable water to the citizens of Martin County. So I wanted to be sure that we addressed that. And Todd, I know you spoke about several projects that you have ongoing and the progress that you've made. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that, to answer that question?
So I'm sorry, I didn't hear the whole question. What was it said? What was said?
So in the comment, Gilbert McClanahan said, question for Todd, talk about progress made getting drinkable water to the citizens of Martin County, which I think you addressed mostly in your comments and the projects that you have going forward, but just didn't know if you had any additional comments to add to that.
To that, I mean, the water that is going out right now is all drinkable. We are not filling any parameters in our water test. All the water is drinkable that's in the system right now.
Okay.
But I also want to touch real quick on what Mary's comments. So the district has, to add to that, the district has, and Jimmy Don, the board chair, has sent a letter over to Big Sandy requesting The contract states that we're allowed to do $750 a day in liquidated damages for the project not being complete. At the time of the letter, we totaled it was like $54,000 that we had requested, but and he'd also asked it for any remaining monies available for that left in that project be giving to the district to recoup the operating costs. So there's some reserve money that's still available in that project. So we requested to have that turned over to the district to recoup the operational cost.
Thank you for that additional comment. Donna McNeil asks in the comments, does Martin County Water District have a capital improvement plan?
Yes, we do. We have several projects identified, and I don't know, it's totals over $80 million in projects that we have sitting out there right now that would improve the water system. The copy of that is available on the website and in our budget, and you can see those projects listed.
Great, thank you so much. All right. I believe we have made it through most of our agenda. The next work group meeting is set for December 16th, 2024, 1 p.m. Hope that's on everybody's calendars. We'll be sure to get out an agenda in advance. And if you have anything for that agenda, please forward that to Alicia Jacobs at alicia.jacobs@ky.gov. And we'll be sure to get you added to the agenda. So at this time, I'd like to thank you guys for your time, and I'll look forward to speaking to you in December or sooner and hearing about progress. Thank you very much.